listens to Charm Chats.
Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to Charm Chats with Kendra
And Kat.
Today we're covering episode 410,
A Page from the Past.
which aired on January 17th, 2002.
Yeah. So we're into 2002.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lovely play on words here, and it also tells us that this is totally going to be a flashback episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the first episode with Paige's name in the title.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler, it's the only episode with Paige's name in the title, but, you know.
Yeah, that doesn't mean she's left the show. That just...
Correct, it's just...
They did it once, and they're like, we didn't have another opportunity.
Yep. So we are going to just get right into it, because of reasons.
Mm-hmm. We start immediately inside the police station, and we pan toward the left across a guy with some tattoos and multiple piercings on his face to a very dirty-looking old man who definitely needs a shower, to Cole, who is staring at that dirty old man, and then to another dirty-looking man.
Yeah, and these guys have no credit on IMDb, so I got nothing there. We come back and we settle on Cole. He is wearing a blue shirt with tan pants under a black jacket. And we see Daryl, who is in dark gray pants with a bright blue shirt and tie, walks over to him.
Apparently, Cole was pulled over for a busted headlight and taken to the station because he doesn't have a valid driver's license.
Cole is salty about his time being taken up, and Daryl is even more salty about it because the assignment board is full of open cases that he's not working on because he's dealing with Cole.
And also, this is not a homicide thing.
Yeah, that too. We see that the assignment board is basically a bunch of file folders on the wall, and one of the folders seems to have the case number of 8675309.
Oh, Jenny.
Which, yeah, is a lovely reference to a 1981 song sung by the power pop band Tommy Two-Tone. I urge you to go to the link on our website and just check out the popularity and litigation section on this, as well as the use in business section for this song, because it's just, you're in for a treat.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Great.
I've heard stories about the person who, or one of the people, I suppose, who has this number.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing, right, is they didn't give an area code.
No.
So every area code
Can have an 867-5309.
Yeah, and there are a couple of businesses who have taken that as their business number.
Yep.
And it's just, it's great. Anyway, so they're talking over each other a little bit, with Cole being annoyed that he can't go anywhere or do anything without having an ID, and Daryl being annoyed that no one ever says thank you for all the work he does, and I'm right there with you, Daryl.
And then they both converge on the phrase, "It just sucks," at the same time. They stop and stare at each other.
Yeah, that seems to make them both feel better. And then we see Piper and Paige walk in and go over to Daryl and Cole. Piper is in black pants and a black V-neck shirt with a long tan jacket. She's wearing that diamond cross necklace, and her hair is pulled back with a headband. Paige has her hair down and straight, and she is in jeans and a very shiny silver textured jacket with a large furry collar. And she's got that blue purse. And the jacket was kind of like snakeskin leopard print. It was weird, but it was like shiny and textured and very, very Paige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piper asks about her car. Cole says it's fine. She says he's never allowed to borrow her car again, and they leave.
We cut outside the police station as Piper, Paige, and Cole walk outside. Cole is upset that his life has gotten worse since becoming human, including Phoebe still not wanting to marry him.
Piper says that getting busted by the cops isn't helping. Paige says he probably already feels like a loser. And then we hear a car screech nearby. They run across the road where a car has
like rolled over.
And
yeah.
It's a fun shot because you get to see like I don't know if they just like lifted it up for a second and let it fall back down, but you see the end, quote unquote, of the rollover.
Yeah.
The car is still moving a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it bursts into flames, and Cole immediately is like, it's about to explode.
Yeah.
So Piper freezes it.
Right. So Cole and Piper run over to the car, but Paige just stands there.
Yeah.
Like Paige just stands there frozen. Cole and Piper try to get the door open, but it's stuck. Piper calls out for Paige, who's just standing there in shock. Cole finally gets the door open, reaches in, and pulls out a woman who gets no IMDb credit.
Cole tells Piper to be careful, but to hurry before anyone sees them, and they carry the woman over to where Paige is standing, just as the car unfreezes and blows up.
Piper asks Paige what happened to her, but she's still just standing there staring at the burning car. And we end on a shot of Paige's face, and then the car on fire overlaid over her face before we go to the opening credits.
Nice little double exposure.
Yeah, it was a really cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was actually really impressed by that shot.
And then we go to opening credits, and it will not surprise you to know that Daryl is in this episode.
Yes. Like, we totally have Cole and Daryl in this episode, and, you know, I'm good with it.
Yeah. We see Phoebe and Cole walking down the stairs at the manor.
Cole is now in a long-sleeve brown turtleneck and black pants, and will be in a tan jacket before the scene is over. Phoebe is in jeans and a long-sleeve blue and white shirt that has a vague leopard print on it in places. And it looks like it's got the elastic to be an off-the-shoulder shirt, but she's wearing it covering her shoulders. She's also got a bit of blue cloth around her neck with a couple of, like, blue flowers and a buckle on it as a choker necklace. And her hair is pulled into a double ponytail where the bottom is a ponytail and the top bit is pulled back with a clip. It was very weird, and I'm not sure who made that choice.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Phoebe wants to know where Cole is going since last time he left, he got a gun. He promises her he's not getting a gun, he just needs some action.
He says that he went from being a demon to being a mere mortal, and that next to the charmed ones, he's a potted plant.
Which gave me a hell of a lot of laughs, because that's a common term, especially for, like, women in Star Trek.
And I thought it was funny because we saw Piper blow up a potted plant.
True.
Which, you know, it just had that little memory thing for me. Anyway, he then says that pulling the woman out of the car felt good. Phoebe says that that's because he's a good man. And he's like, yeah, I won't last long without a reason to get up in the morning. And she's like, well, I'm your reason. And he's like, yeah, you're all I've got? And then he kisses her on the cheek and is like, and I'm not sure I really have that. And he I'm like, oh, oh man.
Apply ice to that burn.
Yeah. That good little salve.
Cut to Phoebe walking into the kitchen where she has to open the door.
It's so weird to see the door.
I love the door.
Yeah.
I always miss the door.
Yeah.
It's a good door.
It's a good door. So Piper and Leo are in the kitchen making breakfast. Leo is in black pants and a dark gray sweater with visible trim and elbow patches that are in an orange color. Piper is in black pants and a light blue hoodie with a vertical ribbed detailing at the collar and at the wrists. And she's still got that cross necklace on, but her hair is down now.
Phoebe asks if she's the world's biggest bitch, and Piper decides not to take the bait on that.
Yeah.
Phoebe says that Cole has given up everything he's ever known for her, and she can't even say yes to marrying him.
Leo says she's not the marrying type, but Piper says that she's just afraid of Cole's humanity.
She says that he was a much safer boyfriend when he was a demon, even though he could rip her throat out with his teeth.
Phoebe asks for an explanation, and Piper motions that it's Leo's turn to answer. Leo explains that Phoebe knew on some level that a relationship between a demon and a witch couldn't last, and now that Cole is human, she has to actually try to work on it. The concept.
Yeah. Phoebe decides she's no longer wants them to analyze her, and then asks about Paige.
Piper says that Paige left in a hurry, and that they still don't know why she froze up. Phoebe thinks that it's weird that she can handle demons but not a car wreck, and then clears her throat as it looks as Leo has dipped his head into his coffee cup.
Phoebe jokes about him needing a snorkel,
which is a breathing tube thing used when you swim underwater.
And then Leo says that Paige told him something in confidence.
Piper says he might be sorry that he didn't tell them if she freezes again at the wrong moment. And he lets them know that Paige's parents died in a car wreck.
And they're both instantly apologetic.
Yeah,
and they're like,
instantly humbled.
When did this happen?
He says that it was 8 years prior when she was in high school. So now we absolutely know we're going to get to see her with bangs and braces, right? Because that's how they do that.
That's how they do that.
Leo says that Paige never really dealt with it. Piper wonders how someone deals with something like that, remembering that she was a teenager and all alone. And Phoebe's like, well, we might be able to help her deal with it.
We jump over to Paige at work talking on the phone.
She is wearing a long-sleeve cream-colored turtleneck that has horizontal ribbed detail on the collar and the wrists. And she's paired it with a denim miniskirt that looks like it wraps around a bit and red tights. And her hair is down. She wears her hair down a lot.
Mm-hmm. She likes to.
I do. I like the way that it... Yeah. I like her hair down. It looks good on her.
She's apparently calling in to check on the woman who was pulled from the car and seems happy with the reply she gets. And then Piper and Phoebe walk in and immediately go over to her.
Phoebe has added a tan suede jacket with fringe on it to her outfit. And Piper has added a long blue sweater jacket to hers. And I enjoy that sweater jacket.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Paige immediately says she's busy and starts heading for the copy machine. They follow her, naturally, saying they need to talk about something important. She says, oh, well, my work is important, so I'm going to try to get back to that. But no, they still try to talk to her.
She yells out a not now, and everyone in the room turns to look at her. She storms into the copier room with Piper and Phoebe following her. And Phoebe's like, okay, look, we know about your parents. We're worried about you. We want you to know you're not alone. And Paige is like, okay, let's not talk about this here at my job.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell my boss that I have to leave. We can talk about it at home.
Yep.
And
she leaves.
Yeah.
And we jump back over to Cole, who's walking into the police station. And he walks over to Daryl, who is now in a light blue shirt today with a blue and gray patterned tie. Cole asks for a minute of his time. Daryl's like, no time to spare. Assignment board still full.
Cole asks to help. Daryl says he can help by leaving and tries to drag Cole toward a door.
However, that door isn't to the outside. It's to an office, which I believe is the captain's office.
Also, I believe it used to be the interrogation room.
Yeah. But either way, not a door to the outside.
They've redressed it.
Yeah.
Cole pushes Daryl into said office and shuts the door. And then Daryl asks if Cole wants to fight, since he's fairly certain he can take him now that he can't throw energy balls.
Cole tells him to relax, that he just wants to get back into the good versus evil game. And Daryl questions if he wants to be a cop. Cole says that he knows the law from his days as a DA, and he knows the streets from his days as a demon, and he just wants to help Daryl with his investigations.
He mentions that DA inspectors are still after him, but thinks that Daryl could close that case, clear his name, and get his identity back.
Daryl thinks he's talking crazy, but Cole says that crazy is him sitting in the manor with nothing to do because everything in his head is going to waste.
And it is at this moment that the captain walks in and, not quite asks for his office back.
Yeah.
Daryl apologizes and tells Cole they'll talk later.
Cole excuses himself and leaves, and the captain is once again played by Tommy Redmond Hicks, which we saw in the season 3 finale. So you can go there to learn about him.
We jump over to Piper, Phoebe, Paige, and Leo in the living room at the manor.
Paige says that she wasn't an ideal high school student because she skipped classes and partied all night with her friends.
Piper says that sounds like someone she knows and looks at Phoebe.
Phoebe gives her a look back, and Piper says that high school is the time to figure out who you are. Paige says that she was cruel, especially to her parents, and that on the day they died, she told them that they weren't her real parents, even though she didn't really mean it.
Phoebe says that everyone makes mistakes, but that everyone changes, and Paige says that she didn't change in time. Leo asks what she means, and she explains that they did family night every week.
We learn that her dad was a fireman, and that he left the fire station early to pick up her and her mom, and she was bitching that she was too old for the super lame tradition. She then starts crying, saying that her dad got angry at her and didn't see the car that swerved into their lane. And that the next thing she knew, she was on the pavement and the car was on fire. She says she doesn't know why she survived, and they didn't. And I immediately was like, it's probably because you orbed for the first time, because remember how your orbing has been mentioned as a fear response? I mean, come on, chick, why are you not making this connection? Oh, right, because we have to have this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Phoebe says that she can't blame herself, and Paige says she feels guilty every day. Piper tells her she needs to move forward, and Paige asks how she moved forward. how she moves forward after killing her parents.
Paige then cries, Phoebe hugs her, Piper and Leo ask how they help her deal with her past, and Leo's like, well, we need to send her back to it. 'Cause that's apparently a thing.
And we time jump to Piper, Phoebe, Paige, and Leo all in the attic.
Phoebe lights some candles and is questioning Leo about wanting to summon a ghost from the past. She asks if he'd be coming from the fiction shelf, and Leo says that Dickens didn't just make stuff up, that he was visited by a malevolent spirit. Now, Dickens. Let's talk about Dickens for a moment. Charles John Huffam Dickens. Love that name. He was born in 1812. He died in 1870. He was an English writer whose works include Oliver Twist, A Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectations, and A Christmas Carol, just to name a few. And that last one is the one that Leo is referencing with the malevolent spirit. Paige asks if malevolent means bad. The dictionary defines malevolent as having, showing, or arising from intense, often vicious ill will, spite, or hatred. So, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Leo says that Clyde isn't the friendliest ghost, which may or may not be a nod to Casper the Friendly Ghost.
That was, invented in the 30s, could be a thing.
But that he's the only one who helps the living visit their past. Piper seems unimpressed that his name is Clyde, and Leo says that Clyde doesn't like his name either. Paige asks if using bad magic to time travel will result in personal gain issues, but Leo says that she's only going back to learn why her parents died, so there should be no issues, and then asks if everyone is ready.
Piper asks if they don't need a summoning spell, and Leo's like, yeah, Clyde just ignores them. And the only way to get him to show up is to make him mad.
He then looks up and calls out, saying that Clyde is a fetid worm from the bog of eternal stench.
Which is a line from The Princess Bride. I'm not sure if it's from the 1973 book, but it is definitely from the 1987 movie.
Yeah. And after that line is when he pauses and tells them, you have to make him mad.
Yeah.
And then he goes back up and looks up. He's like, your mother was a chunky substance from a gin cesspool.
And she smelled bad, too. And this seems to work as a gust of wind appears, flies across the attic, making some papers go flying about, and it turns into Clyde, who looks angry.
And he's also not wearing shoes.
Clyde is played by Sherman Howard. He was born in Chicago in 1949 and has 114 acting credits so far since way back in 1973. He played Lex Luthor in the Superboy TV show from 1989, but most of his longest-running gigs have been voice acting ones back in the 90s. Clyde is wearing a ribbed orange shirt under a textured brown vest with brown pants under a black jacket that looked like it had tails. And his hair is wild and messy, and as Kendra said, he's barefoot. It's definitely
a look.
Interesting outfit, especially when he says that he was with a client in 1969, Woodstock, and Hendrix was on stage. And I looked at that and went, really? That's what you were wearing to Woodstock? Maybe that explains the barefoot, but...
Honestly, I don't know that anything could stand out at Woodstock.
I don't know. Woodstock was a music festival held in New York's Catskill Mountains in August of 1969, where over 30 musical acts performed, and Jimi Hendrix was one of those musical acts. He was born in Seattle in 1942, and he died in 1970, so just over a year after Woodstock happened. And I will link to everything so that people can read for themselves. But if you're in Seattle, you should totally check out the Museum of Pop Culture, or MoPop. When I was there, dear Lord, almost a decade ago? It's been almost a decade, and that's just weird to me. They had a Jimi Hendrix exhibit that told about his entire life. But as of the time of writing these notes and recording this podcast, they have one about him during the height of his fame. And I wish I could go back to Seattle and check that out, because he's a fascinating man.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix was a fascinating man.
Anyway, Leo tells Clyde that he needs him to take Paige back to the day of her greatest pain. Clyde is excited about getting a job, and Leo's like, hold up, son. This is not a job. It's a favor.
Clyde says he doesn't do charity work, and Leo reminds him of the time that he healed a client who returned from the past on the edge of a cliff, And what was it? 32 broken bones?
Mm-hmm. Clyde relents and turns to Paige, telling her he can only open the door and that he don't guarantee no safe trip.
Which is a double negative, but who's paying attention to such things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he asks her if she really wants to do it. She says she needs to. He agrees, tells Leo to be her guide, and then snaps his fingers. And a door slams down, but silently, in the middle of the room.
Yep. Leo reminds the girls that they'll be on their own because he won't be able to hear them if they call, and they just tell him to take care of Paige.
Clyde opens the door. Leo tells Paige not to look down, and they go through it. We see the space through the door. Mm-hmm. It's essentially black, and there's these little flitty, like, white dust moty bits.
Yeah, they're like little cloud-esque things. Clyde asks if the other two girls want to take a trip to the past, as two of the cloud-like objects escape out of the door and go hide by a bicycle that's hanging from the ceiling. Just, the random shit
Where
in
else
their,
do you put your
in their
bicycle?
attic. Yeah. He says that his rates are steep but fair.
Phoebe at first asks if they can meet John Lennon,
who is a member of the band The Beatles.
but then Piper shuts it down and shoves her.
Yeah. Did you know that they are making a movie, or they've made a movie that's coming out in June called Yesterday, where this guy wakes up to find that the world doesn't know who the Beatles are, so he becomes famous using their songs?
Yeah.
I'm totally going to link to that because I think that's an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, the main lead, is, I want to say he's like Indian or
Indian, Pakistani, somewhere South Asian.
Yeah, I was like somewhere he is a person of color, and I enjoy it. I'm here for it.
And I remember seeing in one of the trailers Ed Sheeran telling him to call it "Hey Dude."
Yes. Like, legit, that's how I found out about the movie, was because of Ed Sheeran being in it. And I'm like, wait, Ed Sheeran's in a movie? What is this? And I watched the trailer for that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm down for this. I'm here for this. I am very excited about this.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, once they disagree to take him up on his offer, he closes the door, clicks his finger, and the door does the reverse of what it did earlier and disappears. He tells them to yell if they need him, clicks his fingers again, and then disappears in a flash of light.
Phoebe says that they need to be there when Paige gets back. Piper's like, okay, I will cook. We can hang out in the house. And then she's like, I hope this works.
Yeah.
And she walks away. She leaves the attic. And one of the cloud-like creatures floats down and goes inside of Phoebe, in through her chest, possessing her. And Phoebe, now with a southern accent of some sort, says she hopes it works too.
And then she looks up at the other little cloudy grub, calls it Frankie, and says she'll find him a body.
Yeah. The door then appears in a bedroom 8 years in the past. Mm-hmm. So we're in 1994. Just remember that.
Yeah.
1994. We see a really creepy mannequin head on a dresser, some band posters on the wall for Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne, and Slayer, as well as a bunch of other stuff.
Paige and Leo fall out of the door. Paige ends up falling straight onto the ground, but Leo catches himself. He closes the door and it does the disappearing thing, and then he turns around and asks if she's okay. She stands up, and we now see that she does indeed have bangs and braces.
Yep. She is now wearing jeans, a red and black striped shirt, and an army green jacket.
She starts to say she's fine, but then catches a reflection in the mirror. Apparently she thought she'd be coming back as a ghost and not
like in her body.
With her own horrible fashion sense.
Yeah. Leo tells her that she's supposed to relive the experience, not just observe it. And she's like, yeah, but I thought I'd just be able to, react to my life by making comments about things like my lack of style.
Leo tells her to look around, and we get a pan of the room, along with some lovely guitar riffs as audio.
Yeah, and on Netflix, one of the posters on the wall has been blurred out. But thanks to the wonders of the internet, I know that the poster was for the 1996 movie Scream.
Which is hilarious because Rose McGowan was in that movie.
Yeah, she played the character of Tatum Riley, who, spoiler, dies horribly.
Was it the garage door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the garage. Yeah.
But
I
only remember that because I know I just, like, I have an image of the garage from my childhood home, and so, like, my mother would warn me not to get under the garage when it was closing, even though it had, like, the laser thingy.
Yeah.
And so, like, when someone told me that's how Rose's character died, I just always think of that garage.
Yeah, and every time I think of and it's going to sound horrible because this should not be the image that pops into my brain, but every time I think of Rose McGowan in that movie, all I can see is her standing in a doorway in a green tank top thing and nipples on display. Because that was the image that, like, was everywhere. It was like, really? Really? Oh, okay. That's a thing that they're going to do. Sure. One of the other things that we see as this pans around the room is a doll on her dresser that looks to be The Bride of Chucky, which was a movie from 1998.
Mm-hmm.
So these are both anachronisms because we should be in 1994. And also the Metallica poster that's on the wall also is from a couple years after 1994. So, you know, they just were like, well, it's the 90s. No one will really notice. No one will really care. But, you know, somebody should have been on that. Just saying.
Yeah. As we pan back and land on Paige, she realizes she was cool as a teen, and then notices that there's a necklace on one of the dressers that her first love, Philip Lewicki, gave to her.
Yeah.
She asks Leo if she can call him, and he's like, that's not why we're here. And then we get a knock at the door.
And the audio gives us a record scratch, which I thought was great. I love that.
Yeah, Paige panics and asks what she should do. Leo's like, open the door. So she does.
Her dad is there, wearing a long-sleeve, dark-ribbed sweater over a light button-down shirt and dark gray pants. And it was like the quintessential dad character outfit.
Mm-hmm.
He is played by Scott Wilkinson, credited as M. Scott Wilkinson. He has no picture on IMDb for some reason, and only has 55 acting credits between 1978 and 2008. He mostly did single episodes of TV shows or TV movies, but he was in 6 episodes of Touched by an Angel just before this episode of Charmed, where in each episode he played a different character.
Huh.
I don't know how that show works.
Neither do I.
But I think it's very interesting.
That does sound fun.
Anyway.
He asks if she's ready for school. She hugs him joyfully. And he asks if she's been smoking. He goes over to an open window and on the windowsill and puts out a lit cigarette that was just like hanging on it. He says he doesn't know how much more her mother and he can take, and then leaves her room.
And we go to commercial break. Because tension.
Yes.
We come back to Paige running down the stairs and Leo following. He asks where she's going. She says that she's going to talk to her dad because she can't believe she hurt him like that. And he's like, yeah, there are rules. You need to follow the same path that you took when this all first happened in order to find the answers you're looking for.
She asks what happens if she doesn't remember, and Leo says, well, she's the only one who can see him, and he'll guide her. So she says she understands, thanks him, and asks him to step aside.
She heads toward a closed door, but stops when she hears her parents talking. And we hear her dad telling her mom that Paige is smoking again, and that she even gave him a big hug like he wouldn't be mad about it. Paige then opens the door just enough to see her parents sitting at a table.
Her mom says that Paige told her she'd quit smoking. Her dad says she also said she'd quit drinking, but that she had passed out at a party and he had to bring her home.
Mom mentions that the school called to say she'd been cutting classes, and Dad says she's not going to get into college if she keeps doing that, and Mom's like, oh, didn't you hear? She's not going to college.
Paige decides she doesn't want to go in there.
Leo tells her to remember why she's there and she can do it, and then they walk into what turns out to be the kitchen, where her parents are now washing the dishes.
Her mom is in a purple v-neck sweater and a purple patterned skirt, and is played by Lisa Dar.
She was born in 1963 in Chicago. She has 88 acting credits so far, starting back in 1991, and some people might recognize her from her longest gig, which was 43 episodes as Jane McPherson on the 1999 show Popular. I did not recognize her.
It wasn't that popular. Paige hugs her mom, saying she missed her, which just seems to confuse the woman.
Yeah.
Paige says she's got an announcement. She's turning her life around. And her dad immediately replies with, you can't borrow the car. She says she means it. And he tells her she said she meant it when she said she was going to stop cutting class. Paige begs her mom to forgive her.
Her mom brings up the fact that the night before, Paige said they weren't her real parents. And Paige is like, yeah, but I just said that to hurt you. And she saddens herself by the realization of her words.
Her mom asks her dad if he fed the cat. He replies he did, and they go back to washing the dishes.
And my immediate thought on that was, wouldn't it be hilarious if the cat was Kit? Just saying.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that would work for the timing. Because we don't know when she got to that previous witch, so
Yeah.
she might have made a pit stop over here.
Yeah. I just thought it was just one of those fleeting headcanon moments, you know.
Uh-huh.
Paige says that she promises not to screw up, she promises to change, she promises to go to college, and then she begs them to stop what they're doing and talk to her because, you know, they're continuing to wash the dishes and not paying attention.
Yeah. Dad says they'll talk at dinner. Paige realizes he means the family dinner, and Leo behind her is like playing Angel on the shoulder, and he tells her to be careful. Paige says they need to talk before they drive, and then we hear a horn outside.
Mom tells her that's her ride. Leo tells Paige she has to follow the events of the day with no exceptions, and she begrudgingly leaves the kitchen. Leo then leaves like he's dematerializing. It was a very interesting, like she leaves the kitchen, closing the door behind her, and he just stands at the door and then just disappears. It was quite interesting.
Yeah. Back in present time, Piper is in the kitchen cooking, and it's got to be super cold in there because we can see her nipples.
Yeah, it is very rare to see Piper nipple, and it's jarring when it happens. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Phoebe is admiring herself in a mirror on the fridge.
That I don't ever recall seeing in the kitchen before.
Me neither. As the other cloud-like creature, the little cloudy grub, floats near the ceiling light fixture. She's pulling her hair out of its like clippy and fixing her shirt so that it sits off the shoulder.
So I was right about it being an off-the-shoulder shirt that she just had up. Because, you know,
Yeah.
I know these things.
Yeah, Piper wonders if Paige will like pork roast. Phoebe asks if she's a natural beauty or a gym body. And she's got the southern accent still.
Piper says, you know, what are you talking about? You've always been beautiful. And Phoebe's like, well, that's good because I hate lifting heavy objects.
And Piper's like, what's with the Blanche Dubois?
Now, Blanche Dubois is a character from Tennessee Williams' 1947 Pulitzer Prize-winning play, A Streetcar Named Desire. The character is a deeply insecure, aging Southern belle who lives in a state of perpetual panic about her fading beauty. It is not a happy play, but it is where we get the line, I have always depended on the kindness of strangers.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, whenever I hear the name Blanche, I don't think of this. I think of Golden Girls. Yeah. Cole walks in, says hi to Phoebe, and kisses her. And she replies saying, if you're not the most, to say the least.
Which I think is a reference to a Tower of Power song, which is an American R&B group that started back in like the 1960s.
That's a Tower of Power is a fun euphemism for a penis.
Well, yes. But we'll find out a little bit later that this particular, whoever this is, dates back 50 years, so it's the 50s instead of the 60s, so it might not be a reference to that. But it was just, that was the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah.
Was that Tower of Power song.
Anyway, Cole asks if he missed something and chuckles a bit. Phoebe looks up at the cloudy grub.
Thing.
And
Cloudy grub. I love that you've called it a cloudy grub.
They look like grubs.
I just love it.
They just look like caterpillars or something. They're flexible and cigar shaped, and they move around in a way that makes them look like some kind of larvae.
I like it.
Anyway, she looks up at the other cloudy grub, and it floats down into Cole and possesses him. He gasps.
Yeah.
She says he was missing her, and they kiss hungrily. Cole even picks her up, and they make out against the fridge.
And Piper, who was making what looked to be an angel food cake, she takes that out of the oven, saying that a sister's night might be a good idea. And then she sees them making out. She rolls her eyes, and she's like, you know, there's still so much we don't know about Paige.
Phoebe and Cole stop kissing when they spot the cake. They race over to it, and Phoebe grabs a handful and feeds some to Cole.
And she does not seem to act like the pan or the cake is even remotely warm, even though we just saw it come out of the oven.
That oven is never on. It doesn't have an on switch.
Yeah.
It's not connected to any gas line, because that's fucking dangerous. The only fire we ever see happen in this kitchen with regard to cooking implements is always on the island stove.
Yeah.
It's the only time we've ever seen it, and they must just set it up for special shots or whatever.
I just thought it was interesting that they literally just grab handfuls of this cake, and it's like they're shoving it in their mouths, not even remotely warm. Like, all right, sure.
Yeah, Piper yells at them that the cake is for Paige and asks what's the matter with them. Cole, in a southern accent, says they're starving.
Piper tells them to go to lunch. Cole says that's a good idea, and then grabs Piper's keys.
He calls Phoebe Lulu, and then they kiss. Piper, very exasperated, not facing them, says, "It's enough with the pet names and accents in the kitchen. You can come up with something better than Lulu. It sounds like a poodle." Piper then turns to face the stove, at which point Cole, Frankie, picks up a knife and grabs her, putting his face right up next to hers.
Yeah. He asks if she's making fun of his girl.
And then Lulu, on the other side of the counter, does a little hand clappy and says, "My Frankie is so protective."
Cole then spins Piper around to face Phoebe.
Piper calls them out as being Frankie and
Lulu.
Lulu. And Lulu's like, "We're ghosts."
Yeah. We've been waiting about 50 years to finish a job. And then she punches toward the camera, supposedly knocking Piper out. And this is when I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not a Tower of Power reference, seeing as it's 50 years, that's longer, whatever. Well, I'm still good with it, because the band didn't show up until the 60s, so, you know.
Anyway, back in the past, we get a point of view from inside Paige's locker as she opened it.
She is surprised that she remembered the combination for the lock, and we see inside her locker a red rubber ducky with devil horns, a Hello Kitty doll, and a cassette tape with a pencil next to it, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then, like, a few random pictures taped up inside.
We hear a pager beeping. She goes to look for it, and Leo's like, "Wait, you had a pager in high school?" She tells him to get with it, as it's the 90s.
She then finds the pager, which is large and pink.
With the translucent casing.
Yep.
And mentions that it's from someone named Michelle Meglis, and she can't deal with her drama at the moment.
And we see that the number on the pager is a 555 number, but it has the area code of 407, which is in Florida.
Weird.
Yeah. She closes the locker, and Michelle, who she said just a second ago she couldn't deal with her drama, is standing right there. Now, I do have to wonder why Michelle would have paged if she was standing right next to the locker, because it takes a moment, especially back in the 90s, it takes a moment for you to send a call to the pager and then to get to the pager.
So she probably did it as she was walking down the hall.
No, she would have had to have been because cell phones weren't a huge thing, really.
Yeah, true.
I mean, unless she was...
Well, she was probably using her pager, wouldn't she? No?
No, you can't use pagers to page. You'd have to use a landline to page.
Okay.
Yeah, because cell phones weren't really a thing.
Yeah, that is
before.
weird.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird, but whatever. So, Michelle is played by Alexandra Breckenridge. She is credited as Alex Breckenridge. She was born in 1982 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She has 59 acting credits so far, starting back in 1998. And people might recognize her as Sophie from This Is Us, or Jessie Anderson from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Apparently, Michelle is upset with Paige because Paige told her that peppermint schnapps smells the same as a breath mint, and she got busted by her
Paige
parents.
starts laughing and apologizing, and they start walking. And we can see that Michelle is in a denim jacket over a polka dot white shirt with a black leather skirt over dark tights and a purse carried messenger style. And her hair is in these like low pigtails. And I looked at that outfit and I'm going, yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leo questions that Paige was drinking in high school, and Paige says, "Are you my guide or my judge?" Michelle, of course, thinks she's talking to her and tells her she got grounded for 2 weeks. Michelle then says that her mom is so damaged.
Paige says she's not.
And Michelle's like, "You're right. She's beyond repair."
Paige tells her that her mom is just trying to set boundaries and that she should lay off because how would you feel if she dies tomorrow?
And then Michelle, while chewing her gum, says, morbid much?
Which is actually a line that Cordelia has in the pilot episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Yep.
and I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm. The bell rings. Paige walks off with Michelle calling after her.
And I want to know why there were so many kids in the hall when the bell rang. Because doesn't the bell ringing mean that the class is starting, so they should already be in their classrooms?
Not in the morning. You get the warning bell.
We didn't have that in my school. Okay.
We definitely did. We had a warning bell 5 minutes before our first period was supposed to start. And that, like, it was just common. Because, like, you know what time class starts, but, like, if you're talking with your friends, you're not looking at the clock. And so they just did that, and it really cut down on all of the tardies they had to issue first period.
Okay. Well, like I said, my school was different because we had homeroom for the first, like, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you had your first class. And then we had mods.
Yeah. Okay.
So...
Yeah, we didn't have homeroom in high school. Because we just had classes all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But middle school we had homeroom. But I don't remember what the bell schedule was like there.
Well, I just know because I think I've mentioned it before, my school was weird. Or let me rephrase. My second high school was weird when I went to public school as opposed to Catholic school. Because we had mods. And so the first bell didn't go off until like 45 minutes. And then the next one would go off. It would go off every 15 minutes ish, because you had either a 30-minute class or either a 45-minute class or an hour class, and so the bells would go off at those intervals.
That was weird.
It was weird, but
distracting if you don't have to leave class.
No, it actually wasn't that bad because you got to learn it and then you just kind of forgot about it. But it's one of those where it seems odd and weird and hard to deal with until you're actually dealing with it, and then you go, oh, I can get used to this pretty easy. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Inside the classroom, we hear a teacher droning on,
and we will learn that his name is Mr. Martin. So let me tell you about him real quick. The actor is Larry Brandenburg. He was born in 1948 in Wabasha, Minnesota. He only has 64 acting credits between 1984 and 2010, mostly doing single episodes of TV shows.
We see that Mr. Martin is reading about the Magna Carta, which he seems to be reading off of the back of an algebra textbook.
Yeah.
As Paige is handed a note from Michelle. The note says, Donnie is so hot.
With 4 O's on so.
Yeah, and it's like a torn off corner of a spiral notebook paper.
It is a neatly torn piece of spiral notebook paper. And it's not a corner because it had a hole on either side. So it was the middle of a page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paige says that Michelle doesn't want Donnie. He winds up bagging groceries for a living and driving a Camaro.
And a Camaro is a car made by Chevrolet, which was to be a competing model against the Ford Mustang, and actually shares parts with the Pontiac Firebird. It was classified as a pony car or a muscle car.
Yeah. Michelle responds to this fact with, oh, I love Camaros. And Mr. Martin finally pipes up from the front of the room and he says, I'm trying to teach. Michelle says, no one is listening.
And the entire class laughs, and it was great.
Yeah, he calls them all delinquents and goes back to reading.
Paige looks at the clock, says that she has to get out of there. Michelle says she knows the feeling, and Paige is like, no, it's my last day with my parents. Michelle's like, what are you babbling about? And Paige asks for a bathroom pass.
At this point, Leo materializes, reminds Paige that she has to follow the same path. The teacher asks what the problem is. Paige tells Leo she's tired of wasting her time. And the teacher mockingly apologizes for boring her.
Paige says she wasn't talking to him, and he's like, who were you talking to? And Michelle echoes the question. Leo tries to warn her again, and Paige just gets up to leave, and as she heads to the door, the teacher yells at her to sit down and wait for the bell like everyone else, and the entire class starts chanting, go, 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 and I just thought it was so weird. I'm like, really? This is a thing that's happening? Okay.
Well, apparently this is the remedial class. So.
Apparently so. They're all delinquents.
Yeah.
She replies that she won't wait for the bell, and we have a lovely continuity error because she doesn't have braces when she says that. She then opens the door, and there is a security guard there who asks if she's going somewhere. Now, this security guard is played by Bradley James. He has 34 acting credits between 1991 and 2011, mostly single episodes of TV shows. But he did have a 13-episode run on The West Wing, where he played a Secret Service agent named Donnie.
Donnie Bell?
I thought it was kind of funny, because they were just talking about Donnie being so hot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. And when Paige opens the door and sees the security guard, I think we heard someone in the class say, busted.
Yeah, it was great.
It was really funny because probably they're yelling, go, 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 made the security guard come over to that door.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Back in present day, Piper walks into the police station. She is holding her jaw and goes over to Daryl, asking if he found anything.
He tells her that there was a couple from the 1950s named Frankie and Lulu who robbed a series of jewelry stores and killed 3 people before they were gunned down.
Piper is annoyed that the ghosts that possess Phoebe and Cole are criminals. Daryl pulls her aside and asks her not to use the G word in the station, as a few cops look over at them.
Piper agrees, but says that they need to find them before they finish their job. Daryl asks what job, and Piper's like, well, they must have some sort of unfinished business on Earth, and they either can't or won't move on until it's done.
Daryl questions how she knows this, and she says they didn't share their plan with her, but that's how most ghosts work.
And 2 more cops give her a look, and Daryl drags her further away from the rest of the cops, begging her to keep down the creepy talk in the precinct.
Piper tells him that her sister was just possessed with a supernaturally born killer.
Which may be a reference to the 1994 movie Natural Born Killers.
Adds, her husband is in 1994 and not in the fashion sense because he time traveled back with her other sister, so the only one left to help her is Daryl. He then says, gee, thanks.
In that lovely way that people do when they're hurt by something you've said.
Piper doesn't really apologize, but does ask what happens if they hurt someone or kill someone, because Phoebe and Cole would end up taking the fall. Daryl then points to a map and says that Frankie and Lulu were gunned down outside of a jewelry store there, so they'll probably be trying to finish that job. We push in on the map, and then we cut to Frankie and Lulu.
Now they are both wearing sunglasses, and Cole's hair has been slicked down, which I thought was a nice little touch.
Yeah.
And they are walking into what looks to be a fancy jewelry store. Now, my only issue, this store has double doors, both of which are unlocked, and they swing inward freely. Now, maybe it's just a California thing, but I have never been in a jewelry store that does that.
Because they're not in a jewelry store. They're in a jewelry store set.
I get that. But like every single time I've ever gone to a jewelry store, you ring a bell on the outside of the door and they buzz you in. Like not if you're like at a mall where there's a jewelry store because that's just an open air thing.
But no, there's a jewelry store right by my work, like in that strip mall, and there's no buzzer.
Oh, see,
that's the one with the decal of the dude on the knee that we've been to.
Yeah, it's true. But, like, every jewelry store that I have ever been to that has, like, high-end pricey jewels, you push a button on the door, they buzz you in. Because that is their security so that you don't just, smash the displays, steal everything, and run away. They have to buzz you in and out. Mm-hmm. It's a security thing. They don't have double doors that just open up. No big deal. Anyway,
they take off their sunglasses, look around, and Lulu points out the single security guard and 2 female customers.
They then wander over to the glass counter where a very large, expensive diamond rings being displayed, Frankie puts his sunglasses down and we get a shot of him gripping the side of the display cabinet. So they are telegraphing the fact that he's leaving fingerprints, in case you couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, forensics in the 50s was not as good.
Yeah.
The sales clerk, who gets no IMDb credit, approaches the counter and asks if he can help them. Lulu says they're looking for a diamond engagement ring. The sales clerk is like, oh, you came to the right place. And Lulu, staring into the display case, do we get a POV shot from the display case at this point?
I don't think so. But...
Okay. Well, anyway, she says she doesn't know which one she likes best because they're all so beautiful.
Frankie tells her that she likes the biggest one. And Lulu finds that it's a large teardrop-shaped one. She points it out. And the sales clerk says that she has an excellent eye for quality and that it's the perfect solitaire.
Frankie hawing says that the cut looks a little off. And the sales clerk is rightfully insulted. So Frankie points to the security guy and says, You look like a regular fellow. Come on over here. I want your opinion.
And the security guy, who is very bad at his job, nods and walks over.
Yeah.
I
know. It's Hollywood.
I know.
You need to let it go.
I know.
Frozen 2 is coming out. You need to let it go.
All right.
Anyway, Frankie leans in, laughs, and then asks if he can borrow the guy's gun before punching the dude in the stomach and then the face.
Security guy falls over. Frankie pulls out his gun, calls him stupid, and laughs.
He tells Lulu to move away from the display case, which she does. Everyone in the store ducks as Frankie shoots it.
Yep, he shoots out the glass and screams in excitement. Lulu grabs the ring and puts it on.
Frankie is very excited to be in Cole's body. He calls him a live wire and a guy who digs action. And then he shoots 2 display jars and screams in excitement again. And he's kind of doing the revolver thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
with the catch, the trigger, the hammer.
Hammer.
Yeah, with the hammer.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Cole in the Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lulu is happy to be in Phoebe's body, saying that she loves the feeling of the diamond on her finger, although she'd never cop to it.
He grabs his sunglasses, walks over and kisses her, and then they head for the door. At this point, the security guard gets up. Cole turns around and shoots him in the leg.
He falls face first in a slightly unconvincing pratfall.
Well, he's no Chris.
Mm-hmm. Frankie and Lulu leave the store, unaware of the security cameras watching them. But we know that the security cameras are watching because we get the POV from them.
Uh-huh.
And we go to commercial break.
Yeah, I think it's really fun that there's a reasonable explanation for why they're not looking for security cameras. Because security cameras weren't a thing in their day.
Exactly. Same with the fingerprints. They
probably didn't come around until the 70s, 80s? Somewhere in there?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting thought process. I'm playing in a D&D game that is a modern magic D&D game. So it's basically a Shadowrun game with D&D rules. But in the very first session of the game, we go into this apothecary shop to get potions and whatever. And one of my party members decides he wants to steal from the shop. And not one of us thought to look for security cameras because we're not used to that. It's we're used to D&D, not modern magic D&D.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it is definitely a thing that if you're not thinking about it. But yeah. It's very funny. If you're not used to looking for those things, you don't think to look for those things. So...
yeah.
Anyway, we come back from the commercial break a little while later inside the jewelry store as a cop is dusting for prints.
On that display case.
Uh-huh.
We see other cops interviewing the witnesses and paramedics wheeling out the security guard on a stretcher.
Daryl and Piper walk in. Piper is worried about the guy on the stretcher. Daryl says that it looks like it's just his leg. And Piper's like, shit, we're too late.
Yeah. Daryl walks over to a cop who's interviewing a witness and pulls him aside to ask what happened.
This actor is Darkus McCopson. He only has 33 acting credits between 1996 and 2013. Almost all of them were single episodes of TV shows.
The cop says that they only took a diamond ring, even though they could have cleaned the place out, and then he walks off to continue gathering statements. This isn't a weird thing.
Yeah, he just kind of comes in, says a little thing, walks away again.
It's who are you? You're from Homicide. I don't care. Yeah. Bye. Piper thinks that this doesn't make sense. Daryl says that the ghosts still have unfinished business. Piper says, we have to find them before they kill someone. She then asks if there's a surveillance tape. Daryl looks around and sees a man ready to eject a tape out of a VCR that is fully visible to customers.
Yeah.
This is not in a back room somewhere in a locked cabinet.
Yep, no.
It's just right fucking there.
Yep.
But hey, they couldn't have built more sets.
Yeah. He points it out to her. She gasps and freezes the room and then unfreezes Daryl
by tapping on his chest.
Yeah, it was cute.
He is super perturbed that she froze the crime scene. And she's like, we need to protect Phoebe and Cole. Start wiping fingerprints.
Daryl gets upset, saying that he is sick of her entire dysfunctional family and that he will not falsify evidence. He's a cop.
And then Piper reminds him that just last night he bailed Cole out of jail, and she's wondering what he's going to tell his captain when Cole shows up on the tape.
Daryl then asks what she's waiting for and tells her to get the damn tape.
Piper goes, ejects the tape. Daryl wipes the fingerprints on the display case. However, he's not wearing gloves.
Yeah, he mutters that he can't believe he's doing this. And he picks up something to wipe underneath it and puts it back slightly differently, which I thought was kind of funny. But he's not wearing gloves.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's trying to wipe away Cole's fingerprints, he's adding his own to things. But then he never actually, walks over to that thing and, touches it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but the security camera is not functioning because they've taken off its recording device.
Right, but when the dude gets unfrozen and goes to do fingerprints again, he's going to find Daryl's fingerprints. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but, he has an explanation. He's like, oh, I was there. No one's going to directly be able to confirm or deny whether or not he touched that thing. And there's going to be footage proving he didn't. So
maybe. It was just
people saw him there. That's enough to be reasonable of oh yeah, he was there. Maybe. So that's probably why.
I guess. Then Piper reminds him, it's all for a good cause, and tells him to check the cop's pockets. Daryl does and finds what looks to be a little notebook, and he grabs it and puts it in his own pocket. So now I'm wondering, how do you explain this? Just, that little notebook that you keep in your inner pocket? Yeah, that just disappeared.
Yep. Don't know. Anyway, Piper walks over, hands Daryl the tape, and tells him to get back where they were. They get in position, and Daryl tucks the tape into the back of his pants under his jacket.
Once they're both back in place, Piper unfreezes the room. The cop then tries to eject the VCR. Nothing comes out. We see the fingerprint guy looking confused because there's nothing on the glass.
Yeah. And then the cop Daryl talked to not moments earlier walks back over saying that a couple fitting the description stole a wedding dress from a bridal store, and then he walks away
again. I don't know why, but this I think is my favorite NPC cop. This is my favorite dude. I'm I'm just here to give you drive-by commentary. It's great.
Drive-by exposition.
Yes.
Piper finally realizes that Frankie and Lulu's unfinished business isn't per se criminal. It's matrimonial. Daryl then delightfully asks if they have any normal weddings in their family, and they both rush out the door. Spoiler alert, no one has a normal wedding.
No.
None of the weddings we see are normal by any standard.
Nope.
None of them.
Nope, not even a little. Back in the past, Paige is sitting on a bench in a hallway, and there's a random desk as well as a second bench and a water fountain in this hallway. I've never understood the desk in a hall outside an office.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't get it.
Yeah.
We see the clock on the wall showing that the time is a little before noon. Thank you, WikiHow, hashtag not sponsored. And we see that Paige's parents are talking to the principal in her office. IMDb tells us that her name is Principal Harris. She is played by Rhonda Stubbins-White, credited as Rhonda Stubbins. She has 32 acting credits so far, starting back in 1992, with her longest running gig being 62 episodes of the soap opera Days of Our Lives back in 2000. Leo appears next to Paige, asking if she's okay.
She says she's nowhere near okay. Her time is running out. She hasn't done anything, and now she feels even more guilt because she knows what a disappointment she is.
Leo asks if that's what she really thinks. Paige is like, yeah, my parents think I'm a total failure. I can't let them die thinking that.
She then says that she's not going to let them die at all. Leo reminds her she can't change history. She says she's not letting them get into that car. He tells her she will. She can't break any more rules.
She tells him to screw the rules, and he asks if that's the teenager or the adult talking.
He reminds her that they traveled to the past so she could learn from it, and that breaking the rules hasn't helped her. She says she has to do something because they're her parents.
She then gets up and walks into the principal's office, apologizing for barging in, and the principal tells her that she's being suspended. Paige tries to say that she doesn't turn out this way, meaning that she grows up to be a better person, and her dad says that her actions speak louder than her words.
We time jump over to 3 of them leaving the school, walking down the stairs out of the front. And according to IMDb, it's the same school used for the show Seventh Heaven.
Which I have never watched.
I have.
So.
Weird that I have. That's a little weird. But I have. It has Jessica Biel in it. And, some other people's. The one guy from First Wives Club. He was one of the sleazy ex-husbands.
Okay.
Not the one dating a 17-year-old.
I don't know.
And the wife was in Star Trek 4.
Okay.
So yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paige is telling them that she gets a degree in social work, that she helps others, she gets into Berkeley thanks to high test scores and a
Powerful essay on the death. Let's just say a powerful essay.
Yeah, she kind of trails off because, it was written about the death of her parents. Can't
Yeah.
really tell them that.
Yeah.
Now, there are 3 different schools in California that use Berkeley in their name. There is the University of California, Berkeley, aka UC Berkeley, which is a public research university that's been around since 1868. There is Berkeley Community College, which is just 2 blocks west of UC Berkeley, of that campus, which has been around since 1974. And there is the Berkeley Adult School, which started in 1922 as the Berkeley Evening School, and looks to be a place where older people who want to go back to college go. It's a very interesting thing.
Is that also 2 blocks away from UC Berkeley?
No.
Anyway, Paige begs her parents to believe her. They don't know how, of course, since they've seen her act too many times. She asks them to look at her as though they actually saw her. She says she's not who they really think she is, and her dad's like, how do you know what we think? She tells him that she can see the disappointment in their eyes.
She says that she's searching for herself, and her mom tries to say something, but Paige cuts her off, and she's like, I'll be able to find myself because of who you are, because you're the ones that shaped me to be who I am.
She tells them she's not a bad daughter, they didn't raise a bad daughter, and wishes that they could see that.
Her dad says that they can see it, and her mom says that they've always known she's good, but they also know that she's lost, and it scares them. She says that they want nothing more than to help her find her way home, but they don't know how. And Paige says that they just did, and they all hug.
She promises to stay true to her word, and they start to walk to the car, and Paige asks if they can stay in instead of going to the restaurant.
Dad says they still needed to talk. Paige says they'll talk at home, and then they get in the car to go home. And Leo appears in the seat next to her. Like, she gets into the car and he's just there.
Yeah.
And Paige is, not happy to see him. And as they drive off, Dad asks if they should get pizza. Paige says that she misses Mom's cooking, and it makes her mom laugh because she's like, yeah, you get that every night?
Leo tries to warn her she can't change the past, and she's like, I already did, bitch. No, she doesn't say bitch.
No, she doesn't.
And Leo tells her she doesn't know what she's doing. She's like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Leo then disappears as we see a truck come into view. Paige yells, watch out, and then she orbs out. As
the truck hits the car, T-bones it totally.
Yeah.
It rolls over. Paige orbs back in on the road, and she's like rolling.
Yeah.
And then the car explodes. Paige gets up, starts crying, and we go to commercial break.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We come back, continued from before, with our view on the burning car. Paige starts heading for the car. Leo runs over and grabs her. She screams for him to let her go so she can save them. And he's like, no, they're already gone.
Yeah, Paige tearfully asks why he brought her back. She thought she could stop the accident, but Leo tells her she couldn't save them because it wasn't her fault. He says that it was their destiny to die. And it was her destiny to be saved by magic.
And this is when she finally realizes that she orbed out of the car, and that's why she survived.
Yeah. Leo tells her that her magic has always been inside her, and it saved her because she was meant to do great things with it.
He says that she has and will again, and says that she found what she came back to find out, and now she needs to forgive herself.
She says it doesn't matter, they'll never know how much she loves them and what good parents they were. And we cut to the present because that's a huge downer.
Yeah, and back in the present, an ambulance drives past with a siren blaring as Piper and Daryl rush out of a chapel.
Apparently, they've been checking all of the churches and chapels in the neighborhood, and they've got one left.
Because that's how that shit works.
Daryl asks what happens if they aren't there, meaning Frankie and Lulu. Piper says they'll expand the search to the entire city because San Francisco's a tiny town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they get into Daryl's car and they drive off, siren ablaze.
And we cut to a chapel where a chaplain is performing a marriage ceremony.
At gunpoint.
The chaplain is played by Time Winters.
What a name.
Love it. He was born in 1956 in Oregon, and he is a total of that guy. He has 135 acting credits so far, starting back in 1998, and his most current credit is a role in a movie that's in post-production called Nosferatu that's starring Doug Jones. Yay!
We see Frankie and Lulu standing in front of the chaplain. Of course, Frankie is holding the gun.
Yeah.
Lulu is in a slinky white halter-style wedding dress. It's got all sorts of beading and shit. Her hair is up in a bun with a veil. She's holding a bouquet of white roses.
Frankie is in a black suit with a white rose on the lapel and is holding the gun at the chaplain. They have gotten to the I do portion of the ceremony. Frankie thinks that the guy inside him wants to get married as much as he does, and Lulu says the one inside her is quivering, and then turns back to the chaplain to continue the ceremony as Frankie turns the gun back on him.
The chaplain starts to ask Lulu the question as Piper and Daryl barge in.
Piper says she objects to the union. The chaplain says he didn't call for any objections, and Piper's like, yeah, I'm objecting anyway, and goes to freeze the three of them.
Only the chaplain freezes, which confuses her. Lulu says, oh, honey, we didn't freeze because we're ghosts.
But I swear that Piper has frozen ghosts before.
I can't specifically recall an instance.
I'm fairly certain back in the episode with John Cho, where we had ghosts, she was able to freeze ghosts.
I don't remember that being a thing. Well, okay, no, she froze the thingy that harvests the spirits, right?
I don't remember. It's been so long.
The dude in the armor on horseback. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure she froze that, but that was because that's not a ghost per se. She didn't freeze John Cho.
I don't know. I don't remember, but I could have sworn she's frozen ghosts before.
Anyway, Frankie and Lulu laugh. Frankie says he warned her and then points the gun at Piper.
Daryl immediately draws his gun because he's a cop who's good at his job.
Yeah.
Yelling at him to freeze, which made me giggle a little bit because we've just learned that they can't freeze, and tells him to put his gun down. Frankie then laughs and shoots. Daryl shoots at him and the bullet hits him in the chest.
He seems really startled by this and kind of like falls to the floor, almost managing to sit, but not quite.
Yep.
Frankie then exits Cole's body through the bullet wound. Lulu's like, we'll try again. Next time we'll get it right. And then she leaves Phoebe's body.
Frankie and Lulu then float around the ceiling light fixture. Apparently they like to float at the ceiling around lights.
They're nice little cloudy grubs.
Yeah.
They like to be clouds.
Yeah.
And grubs.
Yeah. Phoebe sits down next to Cole, calling his name and then calling for Leo. Daryl's like, I had no choice. And Piper's like, yeah, I know. But they need to get the chaplain out of there and call an ambulance.
She unfreezes the chaplain. He's like, what's going on? Daryl's like, I'm a cop. Here, come. And takes him out of the room.
But he doesn't take him out of the chapel. He just brings him into the back room of the chapel.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was very interesting. Which I guess makes sense if you're going for the phone to call an ambulance. That's what you would do. But okay.
Yeah, Phoebe is sitting next to Cole and begging him not to die, calling out for Leo. Piper then looks up and starts yelling for Clyde, calling him a son of a bitch. And that's it. Clyde appears in a gust of wind.
Yeah.
She barely had to do anything.
Yeah.
She snarls at him to bring Leo back. So Clyde clicks his fingers and the door appears.
He opens it and Paige and Leo come out of it. And luckily, they had finished their their whole thing. So it wasn't like they were ripping her out of time before she'd finished what she was there to find out.
True. Anyway, Piper tells Leo that Cole's been shot. He rushes over, telling Phoebe to step away. Clyde then looks up and sees Frankie and Lulu and yells at them.
Yells at them by name and is like, what do you think you're doing?
And then he reaches up with this, like, claw motion, and like he's grabbing them, and then throws them through the door.
He clicks his finger, the door disappears, and he grunts a little bit, saying it was an unfortunate slip-up, reminding them that he said it was a dangerous journey, and then he clicks his fingers and disappears.
Cole gets up, saying that Phoebe never answered the chaplain's question. Phoebe replies she never answered Cole's question, and then tells him to ask her again.
He asks if she'll marry him, she says yes, they hug, and everyone smiles.
And I'm just like, please don't use that wedding dress, Phoebes.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't look good on her.
No. I mean, it didn't look bad.
Well,
but
nothing looks bad on Alyssa Milano.
I know, right?
But that doesn't mean it was the best dress.
No.
That doesn't mean she should have said yes to that dress.
Yeah, no.
No. Anyway, we get an exterior night shot of the manor, pushing in through the tree with no leaves.
Yep. The girls are in the dining room having dinner, which I think is the first time we've had them sitting down at the dining room table to have dinner.
Yeah.
Paige is in a long-sleeve knitted green sweater and jeans with her hair down. Phoebe is in a long-sleeve pinkish, orangish V-neck over a white t-shirt, and the overshirt has like a white pattern detail down the front, and the white shirt has 3 little sequins down the middle. Her hair is pulled into a low ponytail with a little bit of bangs falling. We don't get her bottoms. I'm assuming she's paired this with jeans or black pants, but we don't know. Piper is in a gray hoodie with a white shirt underneath. She is wearing the little diamond cross necklace, and her hair is pulled into a messy ponytail loop thing. And again, we don't see what she's paired this with, but like she's looking super comfy in this outfit.
Yeah. They clink their champagne flutes. Phoebe thanks them, and Piper says there's to be no weddings until they vanquish the source. Paige double checks to make sure that what they're drinking is just apple cider, because remember, Paige doesn't drink anymore. It's been a really long time since that's even really been mentioned.
Yeah.
And now we know why.
Yeah.
Before taking a sip. And then Phoebe says she hasn't told them about what happened in her past.
Paige says that she found out that she wasn't responsible for the accident, but that she's sad that her parents won't get to see what she's become or, meet her sisters.
Yeah. Leo, then, wearing the same outfit as before, is standing in the foyer and calls attention to himself by saying, that's not quite true. And then Paige's parents walk from, like, they kind of appear in the foyer, like they're walking through the great beyond.
Yeah.
From the doorway.
Yeah. And they come in as these like ghostly apparitions,
and then they turn solid,
and it was so nice.
Mm-hmm. And that's really nice, because like we've seen that kind of happen before, wherein they summon Patty, and she like stepped out of the summoning ring, and she turned solid.
Yeah,
but this is different. I like this.
This is very different.
Yeah. Paige stands up. Piper questions Leo, and he tells her that he owes Clyde now.
Paige's parents tell her that they know who she's become, that they've been with her every step of the way, and they're so proud of her.
And everyone is crying at this point.
Yeah. She runs over and hugs them, and everyone smiles, and we go to the end credits.
No.
I like it when it ends on a happy note. It's always nice.
Yeah.
So, with the episode done, we are on to our ratings.
You go first.
I am giving it an 8.75 out of 10 glass case of emotion.gif. Just because that's where I was in this entire episode.
What, like David Tennant in A Glass Case of Emotion or Anchorman?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Because both of them during this episode was kind of how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Was that like, I'm crying, but I'm laughing, but I'm crying, but I'm laughing.
Yep. I'm in a see-through phone box and everything hurts.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10 pink pagers, except pager is spelled like page.
Paige. Nice.
And then we're on to outfits.
Yeah. For Piper, I like the outfit that she wore most of the episode with the long sweater. Mm-hmm. Like, I really liked it. It was very classic, very Piper.
Yeah, I like that for Piper.
I mean,
Phoebe, I actually really liked Phoebe's shirt in the first bit.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how can I not pick the wedding dress?
I like that wedding dress for her. That's why I can't pick it.
I didn't really care much for it, but of all of the outfits that she was wearing in the episode, it's the one I liked the best.
Yeah, no. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
Halter is not for her.
Yeah, I don't like a halter, period, full stop.
Halter works for certain things, but not for a wedding dress and not for her.
Yeah. And for Paige, I don't know. I like the final outfit the best. I like her better in jeans than all of the mini skirts that, she wears mini skirts that don't fit her properly.
Yeah, blame wardrobe.
Yeah.
She's got an extremely drastic lumbar curve.
Yeah. And I don't like it. But I like her in jeans. She looks good in jeans. So, that means that we are now onto social media stuff.
As always, you can email us any questions or comments.
I love how this episode was Southern and you're going like Boston.
I don't know.
What is happening right now?
Whatever. You can email us any questions or comments to charmchats@gmail.com.
And you can find all of the links to whatever was mentioned in today's episode at our website, charmchats.com.
Which is where you can also find the links to our Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Redbubble, and Patreon pages. Also, don't forget to join the Discord if you're a patron.
Because lots of stuff is going to be happening there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. So, until next time.
Sleep tight. Don't let the warlocks bite.
Or turn you Southern.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Piper, Phoebe, and Paige, kicking evil sauce weekly in the swarthy